Welcome to our 5th NVIDIA Omniverse user group here at GTC 2023. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our Omniverse community is the heart and soul of the Omniverse platform, and we are here today by Omniverse's top executives to celebrate you, our great community. My name is Wendy, and I'm joined here today by my teammates Edmar and Maddie, the familiar faces of your community team. Joining us today from the NVIDIA team, we have Rev, Omniverse's visionary, Richard, who will talk about the ecosystem, Frank, who will go over the roadmap. I'm so excited about that. Good stuff in that roadmap. And of course, Damien will talk about Omniverse Kit platform. We will also be sharing what people in the Omniverse community are working on, how our Omniverse partners are utilizing Omniverse in their businesses, and how you can become involved in the Omniverse community. And for those joining us on YouTube, and you would like to chat with the team, click on the Zoom meet link in the description below or join the user group session at nvidia.com/GTC. We will be monitoring this chat, which is why it's been disabled on YouTube. And of course, everyone is welcome to join us on our Discord server at discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse. We will be hosting a special community chat after this session to help answer any questions that you may have. We are extremely blessed to have users from all around the world joining us today. In fact, we have a huge group, and the last count that I have is 1,500 people watching us from China right now. So I want everyone to come and join me in saying ni hao to our friends in China.
Ni hao. Ni hao.
And be sure to join the China user group watch party, which is this Wednesday from 7 to 9. And oh man, we have so much to talk about today. Edmar, did I miss anything?
No, but I actually wanted to say one quick thing. So that intro reel that we just saw, first of all, you might think that that was done by the NVIDIA team or some big marketing company or previz company. That was not. All that work you just saw, every single scene in that reel was done by one person. That's Edward McEvenu from Edstudios. I mentioned that because that is part of the power of the foundation that Omniverse platform brings to people and the connectivity of different DCCs and apps. It's amazing. And what it does is it makes technology accessible in a way that has never been done before. That just blows my mind. And that's why he's an ambassador from the community. We're gonna talk about that stuff a little bit later, but I just want to point that out. That was really, really great work from Ed McEvenu. So thanks for sharing that with us, Ed. All right, so why don't we get started? So I think there's no better way to start besides Wendy's beautiful introduction than hearing from the man, the legend, Rev, with a great kind of summary about what we've just been talking about at GTC, and of course what his vision is for Omniverse next. So really happy to have you here, Rev, with us today.
Thank you for that intro, Edmar. I feel humbled every time you guys do that. It still seems strange. We started this Omniverse thing about 5 years ago. At least that's when we started calling it Omniverse. Really, we've been working on it for much longer than that. We've been working on this essentially since NVIDIA started 30 years ago in many ways. This GTC is a very special one. I think we're going to look back at this moment, at this very point in time, and say this is when everything finally changed, everything accelerated. We've been waiting for this specific moment for a while. I think of this moment and where we're going as essentially the point at which we transformed into NVIDIA 3.0. NVIDIA 1.0, the very beginning in the startup phase of NVIDIA's history, was when we invented the PC gaming ecosystem. It was all about accelerating computer graphics for video games. The next era was all about accelerating other workloads, doing high performance computing, accelerating physics and simulation, moving into the data center to some extent. And on top of that, 10 years ago, we saw the beginnings of artificial intelligence. Modern artificial intelligence started with the big bang of AI when AlexNet was first created on one of our GeForce GPUs. Jensen talks about that in the keynote. That was a seminal moment, but that transformation didn't happen all of a sudden. You know, we were waiting for it. We spent the past decade essentially preparing for this. There were a few things in the keynote that really stand out for me, that are important for Omniverse, that are setting the stage for what Omniverse is about to become in the context of NVIDIA 3.0. We anticipated this and we feel it's happened now. So you're going to see this supercharging. The first one is AI. AI has been around now for 10 years, or at least this modern form, but it wasn't until the end of last year that we really saw that moment, what Jensen called the iPhone moment for generative AI. With the release of ChatGPT, which was based on a neural network that had been around for 2 years, releasing this one fairly simple looking application, everything changed. Within no time, there were over 100 million users. And it's because fundamentally people understood for the first time that this power that we're playing with here, this artificial intelligence that we've created, can do some magic that we haven't even thought of yet. It sparked the imaginations of millions and millions of people and set off this new thing. We built Omniverse, and we conceived of it with the idea that in order to create modern AI, to create the most advanced AI, we need to have a place where AIs can learn, where they can be trained, where they can learn how to be good AIs and good robots before we put them out in the real world. This is what robotics is. This is what self-driving cars are all about. We built Omniverse for AI so we can go create them, but we also built Omniverse knowing that AI was going to help us build these virtual worlds. There's a virtuous cycle that we've been waiting to form here. And with this explosion of generative AI happening now, it's finally completing that cycle. So we're going to use Omniverse to create these AIs, and we're going to take these AIs and help them. They're going to be our robots, our assistants inside Omniverse to help us build these virtual worlds. That's happening right now as we speak. You can see it throughout not just the keynote, but all of the sessions at GTC that involve Omniverse and generative AI somehow. You can see traces of that, and it's really exciting because we're just at the very beginnings of this. This year, we're gonna see things that none of us have imagined was possible in our lifetimes. The other big thing that stands out at GTC is our move to the cloud. NVIDIA is becoming a cloud company. We are bringing our compute, our algorithms, our capabilities and technologies into the cloud so that we can make it accessible to everyone, everywhere, at any time. Our mission at NVIDIA has always been to accelerate the compute workloads that are just too hard to do any other way. Doing computer graphics in real time, simulating virtual worlds, artificial intelligence, all of these things require very special computers. You can't just do these things on an average generic computer. The problem with that is that most people don't have these special computers, and setting up these special computers so that they work efficiently, so that they scale, it's just too hard. We can barely do it. It's really hard for other people to do it. The solution to that is to take these computers, for us to go set them up for you, inside the cloud so you can use them when you need them, as much of it as you need on demand. So we're kicking that off now. At the end of the keynote, if you guys noticed, Jensen announced Omniverse Cloud. We have chosen our first partner to work with on Omniverse Cloud. We're not actually building all of these data centers ourselves. The idea here is that we are becoming a cloud company without data centers. We're the data centerless cloud company, much like how we are a chip company without a fab or a foundry. We depend on others for that infrastructure. We're going to build the Omniverse Cloud, and we've already started building it on top of Azure to start with. But over time, it's going to be everywhere, in every possible cloud. The other big thing that stands out is this idea of digitalization. This might be a new term for many of the people here. Some of you might know it. We've talked about digital twins quite a bit, and I think people have some idea of what that is. Basically, digitalization is taking the stuff that we do in the real world, when we make things, physical things, the products themselves, the processes to create those products, manufacturing systems that we build, and turning all of that stuff into software so that we can build these things and operate them at the speed of software instead of the speed at which normal physical things go. When you build something complex, like a car or a machine that builds a car, otherwise known as a factory, the investments to build that is in the billions and billions of dollars. It takes years and years to design, takes thousands of people to working together to do it. And unfortunately, as these products, as these machines to build these products get more complex, the probabilities that you're going to make a mistake in your design increases. Chances are you're going to have lots of bugs in it. And that slows down the time to market, that increases the amount of waste, because we start building these factories and these products, then we have to go redo them again. So we waste materials, we waste energy, we waste time, we waste people's lives building it that way. What we want to do is turn all of those processes into a software problem. If we can simulate them, if we have systems and computers and algorithms that can take all the things we do in the real world and simulate them inside the computer as software, then we can start building these things and testing them and operating them at the same speed at which we built software, which is much faster than the speed at which we can build physical things. That's happening right now. You saw a little bit of that with both Amazon Robotics and the BMW segments that we showed at GTC. We're going to see a lot more of that happening now. We've just unlocked this. So these are sort of the three big things that from my perspective, what was announced at GTC. They all are extremely relevant to Omniverse. This is what we built Omniverse for, and we were waiting on these things to really get Omniverse going. Omniverse would not be possible if it wasn't for the confluence of a few basic technologies that we had to go invent. And that's RTX, with our ray tracing and our AI tensor cores, the GPUs we introduced in the Turing generations and have refined to where we are now, 2 generations later with Ada. Our move to the cloud and building the systems that can run and scale inside the cloud with AI and the algorithms that we've been doing basic research on and advancing, so we can have these AIs help us build these virtual worlds and simulate them. And the need for all of this with digitalization and building the real world things. If it wasn't for all that stuff, then there would be no point in even trying to do any of this. But it's all happened, and it's all happening right now, all at the same time. So it's super exciting. This is the big bang moment of Omniverse. I'd like to add that another really important thing about Omniverse that is often potentially misunderstood by some is that Omniverse is fundamentally a platform, and it's a platform specifically for developers. The intention is to build all of the core technologies and harness all of these technologies into a framework, into a platform that connects to every other relevant platform and tool out there, so that we can create a network of networks, so we can enable anyone to go specialize their tools and workflows for their particular industry in their particular way. Sometimes we build some things that look like tools, and that's only because the things we're building are so new, there's no existing analog of that. So we have to kind of prove it out that it even works. But whatever we build, we leave that as part of the platform, as a foundation that others can take and extend and modify and build on top of. We invite all of you to come help build on top of Omniverse. I think pretty soon, even if you don't know how to write any code in any language, it won't matter, because you're just going to use English or whatever language you speak to code with the AI capabilities we're adding to the system. So everyone becomes a developer pretty soon. All of you are welcome to come build on top of Omniverse. We can't wait to see what you're going to build. With that, I'd like to hang it off to Richard and Paul, I believe, who are going to talk about the ecosystem in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev. Okay, I've got there's going to be a few slides that we've got to share, but I want to start off by first saying hello to everybody. I love watching the chat that's happening here. Hello to people there's people from New York and Arizona, San Diego, Australia, Tokyo. I knew we'd be here all night. I love seeing how global we are and how much of a community we are. And I thank you all for that. And I want to do a special shout out to our China team and our user group there and our partners. Hello to everyone there. Hello to everyone in China from Autodesk, Deloitte, EcoPlants, Geely, and Hunan Architectural Design Institute. We are so thrilled that you're here. So with that, if we go to the first slide, as Rev said, Omniverse is not a tool. It is a platform, and it's a platform that allows you to connect existing workflows, build new applications, extend your workflows, customize them. So it truly can be thought of as an operating system for the metaverse. And the metaverse, as we see it, is the 3D connected internet. That's where we're all heading. The idea that you can go from a virtual world to a virtual world as easy as you can go from a website to a website is what that is all about. And we're seeing this happen. Ecosystem of Omniverse is really the network of networks. And by that, we mean, if you see, I know it's hard to see all the logos, and it's going to be even harder next time, how much we are increasing the connections that Omniverse makes to these different ecosystems that are out there, whether it's sensors and scanners, software products, all of these types of things, and new connections that we have announced here at GTC. Bentley Systems making available their Lumen RT, which was something they announced in a very early access at the last GTC and is now available. Siemens connecting Teamcenter NX and Process Simulate connects us to thousands of some of the largest companies in the world that use their tools and ecosystem. Rockwell Automation, FlexSim, CCM, Black Shark AI, and Unity are just a handful of the now hundreds of connections that we have for the platform. And it's growing all the time. And the beautiful thing about this is it connects existing workflows and brings new power to those workflows. Superpowers like the work that we're doing in AI, the work that's happening with real-time photorealistic rendering, all these types of things you get to bring into the work that you're already doing. And nowhere is that more evident, next slide, than we're seeing in the automotive space. Now, the automotive space is really moving into the digitalization of their entire life cycle. But traditionally, they've worked in these different silos with software, familiar software logos that you see there, the concept and styling. Then they'd hand off to the design and engineering, and then hand off to the software and electronics, et cetera. And now all of that can be connected. And these teams can be connected in the same place or across the globe. And by doing this, it's going to give them a higher degree of what they work on and efficiency about getting things done. And like Rev said, the ability to make a lot of decisions in the digital world before they commit to it in the physical world. And so that is why Omniverse is working with some of the largest and most advanced auto companies in the world. Next slide. For example, the work that we've been doing with BMW extended, as you saw today in the keynote, to even more. They're starting to roll us out to all of their factories. Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, Toyota. We've added General Motors, Lotus, and Lucid Motors, all now working with Omniverse in their workflows. This is an incredible extension of where we've started and now how it's spreading into these entire industries. Next slide. One of the things that's so exciting in our relationship with BMW is that they've now not only announced that they're rolling out the entire to all of their global factories using Omniverse, but they're actually opening a factory first in digital before the physical factory is done. So that means this year they will have their employees in their new factory in Debrecen, which is going to be allowing them to work, to lay out the factory, to train robots, to understand the design and everything, well before the physical factory opens in 2025. This has never been done before. This is really something that is a monumental moment in time that people will remember, the whole digitalization of this industry, and it's starting with the relationship between NVIDIA and BMW. But it's not just the big developers and such that we work with. The beauty, as Rev said, is everyone's going to be a developer really soon. We've seen people using ChatGPT to create objects and things in Omniverse already. So one of the other areas that I love about our community is all of the different types of connections, extensions, and developer packs that are starting to come out. And so I wanted to invite Paul Cutsinger, who heads up our team that works with the connectors and extensions, to tell you about a new project that's going to be available to all of you very soon. And Paul, if I see you online here, I'd love you to.
Here.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
So why don't we go to the next slide, and I'll let Paul tell you about the project his team has been working on. And you should all know about the connectors group and what they're doing with connections, extensions, and so on. So Paul, tell us a little bit about it.
I think you probably all know them. So let me a quick shout out to the folks who worked on this, Jen and Ashley, Eric, Maria, building a lot of great stuff. And they worked very closely with the replicator team to build this out. And what happened was, we're always looking for how can developers of the world get out there and build some really cool tools that are really important and necessary for all these customers. And we heard from the SDG team that defects cost 20% of overall sales revenues, these manufacturers, like it's crazy. So there's an end-to-end workflow that they've been working through to find defects in manufacturing. So industrial inspection is the large group of all this kind of like making sure that your manufacturing processes are working closely. And we're building an enablement pack for that. And as a part of it, the key piece is we're building a defect detection. And this thing's got the CAD files, the USD files, defect materials. It's got training and resources. It's got the extension and all the code you can use. So you can just take it as it is, or you can mix it up and use it however you want. So next slide. The specific scenario we're starting with is this automotive defect use case, and Sierra Cars, really awesome company. They've got this use case. And so we started working with them, and they shared all of their CAD files and USD files. This car here is their RX3. Let's do the next scene here so I can show off this car a little bit. So this thing is their hill climber. It's an RX3. It's less than 1,000 pounds. It can do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. And it has all these fins on it for like huge downforce, because that's on a mountain with no railing on the side of it, right? They're like serious. And then an off-road version. Looks like a blast. And like I said, you now have the USD files for that. And to do defects, this is what they do. This is Eric, actually. It gives me the heebie-jeebies every time. Here he is, destroying this panel with the screwdriver. And here's how we're doing it now with synthetic data. So you can see the green dots bouncing around on this panel. And every one of those, there's a scratch. So we've got a material modeled with scratches, displaying them all over. And they're using Replicator to move that around the scene and ensure we get a wide variety. Imagine how hard that would be normally, right? So then we're using a variety of ways to train the AI with this. You could use Tau or whatnot. This is called RoboFlow, another partner that does training. And they were showing there how you can detect those defects very quickly.
A shout out to all our friends at RoboFlow.
RoboFlow there, Sierra Cars, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
I want one.
Yeah, so we all get one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
I think if you build an extension, maybe you get one. I don't know. Anyway, so this is the enablement pack. Enables the end-to-end flow. Again, it's got like one example of going all the way through it. You can build that all the way out, and then you can party in any place you want. So if you're a reality capture company, jump in at the beginning. If you're a defect maker, if you're a technical artist, jump in the middle. If you're an AI training, jump in at the end. You can build great AI models for all these things. Just a lot of opportunities for great extensions and connectors in this space.
And we're making it all available to you later this week, I believe.
That's right.
Right. So you'll have access to all this. And like with our reference apps and everything else, jump in, explore, make it your own, do things with it. The whole beauty of this is it kind of helps you get further along in the power of the platform. So this is really exciting stuff. So I know we have a lot more to get to, and I know everybody's waiting to see the roadmap and all the exciting stuff from Frank. So I think we're going to turn it over to Frank now. And I think he's got it down to about 300 slides maybe, but
I don't think we should turn over to Frank. I think we should, I'm thinking we should do Preview 3D.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
Because they are a company
You're right.
that they do reality scanning, and they did a LiDAR scan of the Sierra. It's probably next slide.
Yeah,
they did
Frank
a LiDAR
needs to
scan
add a
of
few more
the,
slides to his deck anyway. So we definitely want to get to the preview video. My apologies. Let's
Our
play it.
goal is to help people start with reality and bring the benefits of reality capture to everyone. Currently, you would use 3D scanning data, but you're most likely going to end up to tracing over to go into a CAD model. But what do we do about those existing assets and those complex assets? That's what we were trying to solve. You need quite a bit of expertise in order to create maybe a CAD model or a high quality mesh model or a surface model. So we set ourselves kind of very ambitious goals to make digital twin automatically and make them usable by people that don't come from the 3D space. Maybe they were just familiar with 2D floor plans and stuff like that. So we're really trying to give access to reality, but in a convenient manner for everyone to really jump in digital twin initiatives and metaverse. So combining the imagery and the point cloud data and turning them into a usable format is really what we were trying to do at first. So how do you get a model like this? You just use the point cloud data from a Leica product, Faro, or a partner ZNF, and you drag and drop it to your servers. The entire generation of the application is automatic. For a data set like this one that was about 80 gigabytes, we're talking about 4 hours to process. So it's a really streamlined process to go from massive point cloud data that are very hard to use into this very immersive and easy to use environment. Let me show you something that we developed early on to kind of start on this vision of going beyond looking. So I can take this assembly and just circle around with a few points, and you can clearly see what I'm selecting. And in that case, I can extract the object in real time. So let's save the object and fill the hole underneath. And this is really where we're starting to innovate and bring something different to the table. Having the ability to start to rethink reality and edit reality in real time is not something that is easy to do in any of the applications currently available on the market. Now that I cut my asset, this is where we can start to think about the Omniverse. So obviously I'm taking a subset of the space, but this could be done with the entire site. But those assets now can be exported out, simplified or constrained. But let's just start with the export functionality. Why not export a USD file? So let's have a look. I'm just going to select the USD and go to my Omniverse and export this assembly of reservoir. Create allow you to just make your own world and start building on top of the Omniverse. And in that case, I have the staircase, which is maybe small to read for you guys. So that's a 700 megabyte USDZ file. So let's try. In a few seconds, we have a 700 megabyte mesh file with textures in the USDZ format that go to the resolution that we can see the wirings on the pumps, and we can identify clearly nuts and bolts of stuff that is maybe half an inch Why try to replicate such complex environments when there is a tool to make this streamlined? That's really what I think is the future.
And here it is, pump.usdz.
That shows like how quickly you can take reality capture data, any environments from a scan facility, and export assets like that and link them up into Omniverse. The company is able to take complex 3D scanning data and make it usable for any stakeholder within a company and really bring the notion of a functional digital twin to a whole different level. Any industries where you have a lot of machinery, a lot of complex equipment and facilities that can be very large, scanning with the different scanning hardware out there and using Preview 3D is a really quick way of getting the highest quality and precision and the engineering tools and the tools you need to do additional other work. If you're thinking about health and safety, maintenance and operations of your facility. And then, like I said, we showed you earlier, bring all of this into Omniverse for doing advanced simulations and other type of integrations. It's all designed to be integrated within the workflows of our clients.
Fantastic. So to everyone at Preview 3D, hello, thank you so much. Michelle, Nicholas, really appreciate it. It's some incredible work that you all are doing. And now I'm going to get to turn it over to Frank, who's going to take us down the journey of the roadmap of Omniverse and where you get to see some sneak peeks of the things that are coming from the lab. So Frank, over to you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. All right. So Edmar, you're gonna have to cut me off when I run way over. So
I have no problem
with
cutting you off, Frank. I'm happy
lots of cool stuff to show.
7 hours last time, right?
Take it away.
All right, let's see. This is just, obviously we're working on stuff that's still in development, and don't make purchase decisions based off anything that we're showing you that's coming because again, it's all in development. Okay, next. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about what we're gonna go over today. So one, cloud. Some really great stuff coming. I'll talk a little bit about that. The auto workflows that we've been working on, which is really again a set of capabilities, and I'll talk about those. The developer platform, and lastly, scaling. What we're doing to scale up all this work in the cloud. So first, I want to talk about Omniverse Cloud. This, from the beginning, this is what we built Omniverse for. We built it for the cloud, and of course, it works great on workstations, but there's so much technology that we've built to leverage multi-node, multi-GPU computing. And by bringing Omniverse to the cloud, you're going to be able to do things you just were just impossible before. And actually, honestly, I had rev tears last week because I started using Omniverse Cloud with 25 of our closest colleagues all together in this huge factory, collaborating together.
Careful with those. Once they start, they don't stop.
I know. It's like, honestly, I was like, OMG, this is going to be amazing because we get to finally use all the capabilities that NVIDIA has been building over time into one system. So what is Omniverse Cloud? So Omniverse Cloud is we've built a computer or a full stack from the beginning called OVX, which was really about having a system that was highly tuned for Omniverse. Everything from the GPUs. This one is in fact using the new L40 GPUs, ADA generation. And if you haven't used ADA yet with Omniverse, wow. 2, 4, 6, 8x. I mean, the performance is off the charts because of a few things, because of what AI, and also because of just the acceleration of RTX. But the two combined is now the performance is just is unbelievable. Honestly, I think that was a moment Omniverse was waiting for, especially with USD and ray tracing, was ADA. Now with an OVX, you get 8 of those ADAs per node, and we're already doing workflows that can use all those 8 and multi-node and multi-GPU together. So you can imagine the kind of worlds that you're going to have capabilities to. And part of this Omniverse Cloud is not only access to all the foundational apps and developer environment, but it's also access to the APIs as a developer, and to be able to use these APIs into your own workflows anywhere, as well as streaming technology to stream these kit-based applications, microservices for farm and replicator. It's it's going to really make the setup and usability of Omniverse a whole lot better. I mean, I think you've even seen deep search in some of our previous videos, and leveraging these GPUs in the cloud. Now we can do amazing AI generative workflows and AI search engine for finding things. And anyway, so we're super excited. It's something we're working on. We're already started to work with Lighthouse account customers, but it is coming soon. And again, we're super excited about this. Is going to really be a game changer for Omniverse. So the other key thing here is just about automotive and kind of why automotive. Automotive is great. It's actually one of the biggest customers we have in the early uses of Omniverse, where they had a real problem they just couldn't solve anywhere else. They needed to be able to bring in data from so many different partners, but do it at a scale that just wasn't possible before. And because of USD and ray tracing and AI, we're actually able to bring in these incredibly large scenes, and it actually helped us too. It helped us figure out, okay, how do we do streaming of geometry and streaming of textures so we can start handling these large worlds? How do we take advantage of multi-nodes and microservices to manage this world without baking things or decimating things or breaking that CAD to the real-time visualization environment? That connectivity is incredibly important. But the great thing is all the work we're doing here flows through the entire chain, from the concept of styling of a car to engineering to the factory to even down to configurators. How do you configure this experience for retail, all the way to autonomous vehicles and AI? And all this work we're doing, we're making sure it's super connected, the capabilities are there, and that we can create workflows for third parties can create workflows on top of that real easily. But all of these things will help any industry, because you look at what's happening here, it's all about visualization, simulation, AI, and experiences that you can get out of the platform as capabilities. So we've been really doubling down, especially in this factory use case, because it really pulls together all the pieces of architecture and engineering and animation and AI and logistics and IoT, and allowing us to connect it all together. So it's been a really exciting project for us, and it's helping us push the boundaries of the platform. And that's why you're seeing us hyper focus on this, because it's really pulling together the many disciplines, from visualization to CAD to IoT to simulation AI, into one environment. But again, Omniverse is a platform, and it's about developers. And our focus here for the cloud, for any of the foundation apps that we build, it's all about these APIs. It's all about these extensions and templates and ways to take these capabilities and form them into workflows. So you're going to hear me talking today a little bit about USD Composer and USD Presenter, and these were formerly Create and View. And the reason why we changed those names is that they were Create and View sounded like tools, too much like tools. That was never really our intention. Our intention was to make sure that these are foundational workflows and capabilities that you can extend and add on top of. And let me give you a good example. So Bentley just took the USD Presenter foundational app. They added a bunch of their own extensions, and they released their own application called LumenRT. It's awesome. It allows them to bring in their infrastructure data and connects to their Bentley tools, and solves a very specific workflow that they were able to take our foundation and build on top of it. That is exactly what we built the Omniverse platform for. And that's why I wanted to make sure it was very clear with our users and developers that we're building these foundations that you can build on top of. Now, if you watch the GTC keynote, you saw the same thing with AI. It's the same thing. We're building foundational AI models, but then they're there to extend and add your own personalization and custom training on top of that, so you can really own it and even go to market with it. So that is a really important thing I wanted to stress throughout this presentation. So from an update perspective, we're constantly updating. We don't update everything at once at one given time. Every single thing we have between Kit and USD Composer and USD Presenter are released as they're ready. So like boom, boom, boom. So you're going to constantly get updates as they're ready. In fact, we release tons of beta releases as we go. So you can see that on the launcher today. There's already been quite a few releases that we've done in beta, but we're gearing up for some new releases for USD Composer and Presenter and more. So at the base of that is Kit. Kit again is our core building block to build these to connect all these extensions together and build applications on top of, and it's really our core framework as part of this platform. I'm going to let Damien. He's going to deep dive this to death, and it's going to be beautiful. You know, Damien. It's going to be really great. So I won't spend too much time here, but the gist is that we're really, now that we've got the core platform there, now we're just going to make it really easy for developers to have good starting templates to go from, and really great extension registries, and we'll talk about that when Damien comes up. But I'll highlight a couple of things that are just that are capabilities that are really helpful for especially in the automotive space right now. So one of the things we've done in Kit as a core capability is working on new ways to build UIs. So here, for example, you've got your Omni UI where you can create extensions, your own widgets, but now we're building a UI framework for in the viewport, like for example, like a configurator here. So you can see like the paint colors and drop down menus for doing configurators, and we're making it really easy to just drag and drop buttons into the stage, move them anywhere you want in the scene, and then you can actually use Python or Action Graph to connect up those widgets to the scene. So you can connect it up to like change a variant or change a material property or it allows you to create presentations, right? Is basically the core concept of it is I can start doing the PowerPoint of 3D if I can start dragging out these widgets and make a new UI I want. And as a configurator, this is really great because now I can create a configurator UI and then expose this as a configurator on GDN or just as an experience. So we're going to make it really easy to just drag and drop widgets onto the screen. So that's really, really fun. Additionally, we've had the early kind of live collaboration workflows in Omniverse where you can just hit the live button and you can go live on a layer, and it was really cool functionality, but it was still clumsy in the sense that you had to know what layer is, you tell each other which layer you're on, you both hit live at the same time, and you get collaborative in that scene. We completely transformed that whole workflow into a create a session and join a session. And you can anytime create and join a session, very much like a Teams meeting in the sense that you can create that session and join it, and it'll tell you which application you're in, but then it'll also show where they are in the world. So you'll start seeing these off-screen markers. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but there's like these circles with arrows that show where the people are if they're off the screen, or when they're on the screen, we show their name. And you can see in the top, that top bar, there's like all those little colors. Those are all the people that are in that scene right now. Again, I was talking about this with Cloud, but we had 25 people working in a gigantic factory, drawing in the screen, moving objects around, creating new objects. So this whole live collaboration is it's really now getting fun. And we're exposing more and more of this capability to easily do that and even connect it up as APIs to things like Teams, and we have developers doing that as well. So again, this is going to be really great for live workflows. So for USD Composer, our focus here again is, like Rev is mentioning, we build these foundational apps to really stress test all of our APIs to make sure all the APIs are there, they're working, and they work well with each other, and expose them as extreme modularity extensions. So you can mix and match any of these extensions you want with each other to form your own workflow. And in fact, we're going to make it super easy for you in USD Composer to just say, make new app from USD Composer, give it your own name, and drag in your own extensions. And Damien's going to talk more about that, but we're going to make it so easy to create your own apps and publish them. But in general, we're really focused on, again, that collaboration workflow. We've embedded it in this Composer layout. We've added more animation capabilities. We'll talk about that in a minute. Large scene performance. So again, we're using this a lot for our larger factory planning type workflows. So making sure that we're scaling with these scenes. So there's a lot of what we call fabric. You'll hear more about that is being leveraged here. And there's a new capability called the SimReady Asset Browser. We'll talk a little bit more about the end, but this is really cool. We created a whole new asset browser that has physically accurate models and assets that you can drag into the scene. But I'll come back to that. It's really, really neat. Next, again, was all those configurators capabilities. So I mentioned a little bit about the UI stuff that we're getting from the core kit, where you can now create new user interfaces, but also getting access to all the capabilities through Action Graph for the scene. So for example, things like open the door or change the color, or what's really cool is there's a variant editor. So you can make variants and you can get access to variants through Action Graphs. So you can just wire up these interactive experiences very easily, which is great. And also we've seen a launcher, we've had this XR experience where it allows you to, open up see USD scenes and view them in XR and perform. And we've been using it as kind of as its own sandbox to test out performance. And now performance with Ada is phenomenal with XR. So now we're bringing it in natively into as an extension that you can just use anywhere. So it'll be inside Composer and it'll also be inside USD Presenter as just standard tools. And we also made sure that all the connectivity to VR buttons and gestures and workflows are all connected into Action Graph. So you can make your own workflows with XR, again, all built into the apps directly, and no more separate app to go do that. And then the next major release, so that the first set of releases I was talking about was mostly in that July timeframe. The next one are coming in towards fall, but here is a bunch of new capabilities for landscapes, large worlds, foliage generation, because now we're starting to build out that world more and more, and we need to make sure there's capabilities in there that there's some things you can import well from systems, like you can get terrain from other tools, but when things need to be procedural and in real time, there are systems we need to have just in base Omniverse that have to work really well for that kind of large world environments to work. So we created a new landscape system with real-time tessellation, foliage system that's fully procedural for, again, APIs. And on top of that, you can mix that with generative AI. So with generative AI, we're doing a lot of stuff with we have an AI toy box that we're doing a lot of the text to materials and creating 3D geometry. And there's a lot of really great technology coming in that's going to come into Omniverse. And this particular scene that you saw during it was actually in the keynote. The whole thing was generated with a mixture of generative AI materials, generative AI 3D objects. Like all the objects in there were created using generative AI. But then it used the foliage system to lay out all the those generated assets. So we're going to see a lot of really, really amazing new capabilities when you start thinking about ChatGPT and large language models, all kind of starting to work, and these new AI models starting to work inside of Omniverse. And because of partners with Shutterstock and Getty, we're going to be able to do some really, really, really great things together here. But what I would love from this developer community, please experiment with extensions and connecting large language models and generative AI into Omniverse. There's so much potential here, and that's exactly what it's built for, is for you to have a playground, the sandbox, to go do this in. That's why we built it. Go play, go have fun, share it with the community. I'm really excited to see what's going to come out of generative AI. And again, the last thing here is just a worker simulation and animation. So for the things that we're doing with factory, one of the key things is safety and ergonomics and setting up factory workers. So we're taking a whole animation system and allowing you to do worker simulation. And actually, I'll talk about that again in a minute too.
Hey, Frank, could we talk about USD Composer and how that came about, or why that came about?
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit, but again, it started from, again, it's Create. Create was the first name of it, and again, it was a good initial name because that was kind of a stress test for a lot of our APIs, but it's in the wrong position in the sense that we don't make tools, and it sounded a lot like a tool, right? And so we renamed it to USD Composer because it's a foundation app. It's a place you want to start from. It's a place that you can build on top of and create a tool or an app from it. Like I said, I used Bentley RT as Lumen RT as an example on top of USD Presenter. But again, just like the AI models, they're made to be extended. They're made to be add your personalization, your capabilities to it. So we named it to be very clear. It's about USD. We're building this whole ecosystem on USD, and 2, that's about this foundation that you can start from and build on top of. And again, when you'll see Damien's presentation, we're going to make it even easier for you to go create your own apps on top of this, which is really exciting. And we'll get into that in Damien's presentation.
I also think the way people were using it mostly wasn't really to create all of the components of stuff that might be in a virtual world. They were using it to compose from existing things together and add to it. So it's a more accurate name for what it really is all about. In general, the USD excels at being able to aggregate disparate sources of data into one world. And the way this particular app was being used was to construct those USD worlds where the pieces came from different places. Composition is a core concept in USD. And so it makes sense that it would be called that.
So in USD Presenter is the same idea, is that USD Composer, compose the world, USD Presenter, present the world, right? And so for USD Presenter, it's about a narrowed focus, all about presenting that data in a very simplified view. So we have tools in there for doing waypoints, measuring the scene, drawing on the scene, easy teleporting to parts of the scene. And this is again to stress test those capabilities for a reviewer type workflow. So again, this is really a really great app. We use this quite a bit now, just for that kind of live collaborative reviews. So again, as the next major release comes up, we're also putting in XR directly into USD Presenter to make that easy. And again, making that workflow very easy to even do things like, even if you set up waypoints, when you give it to someone, you can tell it to set it to only play the waypoints. So it's almost like, again, it's like a presentation, PowerPoint presentations in a way to just click through your waypoints, and it makes it really easy to present your content using Omniverse. All right, next, how much time do I got, Edmar? Do you know?
We got a few minutes. It's about 8 o'clock, so you can.
Okay. I don't want to cut Damien short. He's the star of the show. All right, so next up, materials and rendering. So with Ada, we added a lot of new functionality besides the AI denoising. So AI denoising and DLSS 3.0 giving us these frame generation. The performance is, again, it's 2x, 4x, depending on what you're doing. It's phenomenal speed ups. Things that were 30 frames per second now are now 60. Things that were 60 are now 120 or more. That's at the minimum you're getting. But on top of that, you're also getting new capabilities. One is a new denoising, AI denoising, that the quality of the ray tracing has just really exponentially got better, especially for things like ghosting and things like that. But also new capabilities around micro meshes. So now you can define displacement using textures, and it'll do fine tessellation of those objects, as you can see in that crab up there, a low polygon mesh, but then highly displaced just through a texture, and all done on the GPU. So incredibly fast. The second image there is about rounding corners. That's a new material property. Now you can set how round the corner is without having the geometry there. And it's making soft rounded corners for highlights, and it makes parts and CAD pieces feel much more alive and realistic. And then things like subsurface scattering and rough translucency is really makes beautiful images. But a key thing is distilling too, because before you had the path tracing mode and you had the real-time mode, but the real-time mode didn't really represent that great, the path tracing mode, sometimes depending on how complex the material is. Well, now we have distilling built in, so you can have the really complex materials show up really well even in real-time mode. And then going further, we've been doing a lot of work with USD Preview Service to make sure we have a really good standard material that can easily flow between the different applications. So now baking and using USD Preview Service even in the material editor is now possible. In fact, we've extended the universal material mapper, which allows you to go between applications more easily and translate materials between them. You can now map between them really well. And in fact, now we added Blender support. So Blender, you can get full-on materials coming with their full graph into Omniverse, which is really great. So you have that one-to-one now with Blender, which is fantastic. And again, I talked a little bit about this, which is just OmniGraph. So OmniGraph, we've been really doubling down on a lot of the nodes for things like Action Graph. And here you can see there's a lot of set variants and clearing variants. And so now you can have access to variants in USD. And again, this was really great for things like configurators, but also things like sound. So now you can have access to sound there as well. Warp, if you haven't used it, holy cow, it is a game changer for OmniGraph. We're getting amazing performance out of Warp. There's a great this latest beta. You should check out the ocean. There's an ocean example under Warp that's just infinite ocean waves. That it was actually in the keynote video that shows Warp at just incredibly high performance GPU acceleration using Python syntax. So definitely check that out. We've also built a scene optimizer. This, and again, it has both Python access through APIs and some tooling that allows you to fully optimize and even create UV generation for your scenes. So things like you get a massive CAD data coming into Omniverse. You can do optimizations, things like merge meshes based on materials. If you want to limit the number of things that are showing up in the stage view, if you want to create some UV coordinates, merge meshes like statically too, deduplication. If the same screw is a million times in the scene, it will deduplicate it. So there's a lot of really great tools for making these really large files come in more easily into USD and into Omniverse. And we also have made microservices to run this that can connect to a lot of these different connectors like JT and the CAD converter. And then back to the animations, is back to again, the workers. We've had this animation system where you can do the animation graph and create clips and actually even do AI-based animation. But now what we're doing is enabling us to set up kind of worker kind of workflows. You can literally say, go here, go there, pick up an item, drop it over there. So it's mixing IK and FK and AI navigation and nav meshes, and so that you can create full environments with characters we use it for pedestrians, for things like Drive Sim, but you can use it for factory workers to do things like task-based work. So this is, again, really exciting progress here. And the great thing here is you don't have to go find the animations. It's built into the AI model, is that it has all the animations fully baked in there for walking and running and picking up things and putting them down, and it just makes it easy for you. Now, of course, as an API, you can still go bring in your own data, but out of the box, it works great. And for physics, we've really been making sure robotics simulation is the articulation capabilities are accelerated and accurate, but also even the collisions themselves. We've had convex collisions and you can do bounding shapes and you really have to set up your kind of collision shapes for your objects. But now we have an SDF, so signed distance field for collisions, so you can get extremely accurate physics solves. It's hard to tell on that bottom left hand, but the bottom left has, you can see a bunch of round wheels, almost like gear-like wheels with pressure points on it to change the number of that clock. And it's just all doing that by physics, as they're rotating these joints are running against the collision of these shapes. And it'd be really hard to do with just a convex decomposition. So with the SDFs, you get extremely accurate physics collisions that are just mind-blowing how accurate it is and fast. So it's a great new capability that we've added to physics. Probably running out of time here, but and again, we talked about Replicator. Again, our focus here is about these APIs where you can get access to all of these capabilities that from Isaac Sim and even Drive Sim and defect detection. So about randomization and sensor rendering, and even things like we added new warp post process, so that you can actually, even once the rendering is done, you can do warp post process onto that and do renderings and defects on top of the rendering just through warp. So it's really again a powerful feature to extend onto SDG. Nucleus. Exciting things about Nucleus is we've added this new Omniverse drive. This is almost like the sync from a Google Drive sort of thing, where you can put it on your workstation and it just syncs with your Nucleus and keeps it up to date. And the nice thing is it's when you go get the file, it will get it just in time, and it can also do things like pre-warming on it. But even more exciting than that, you start getting access to change lists and checkpoints on these files directly, even from your workstation on your O drive. So it makes it really easy to use any app. It doesn't matter if you have a connector or not. If you just have data and you want to put it up on Nucleus, you can do that. You can put USD files on Nucleus. You don't need a connector. You can just use this O drive. Like you can sample, like using Photoshop to edit textures. It's a fantastic way to work, and it's extremely efficient. So that's also very exciting. You start to check that out. And with Nucleus, it had a lot of great capabilities with change lists or checkpoints where you can do checkpoints. But now we want to add more capabilities on top of that to do things like, well, I want to do soft deletes, so I can delete it, but it's not really deleted. It's there, so the admin can undelete it if someone made a mistake there. Doing things like transfers, if it doesn't fully work, it can retry the transfer, so you can get really large files to come down. Manifests, which allows you to do change list-like capabilities, where in a sense that you can have a set of checkpoints that are all together as one. So one manifest of changes. So for example, like a USD file plus textures plus materials as one change. And then, of course, just a lot of work on the caching system that we're simplifying, so you can get access to not only just your model caches, but now even giving you access to your shader caches, and you can see everything that's happening in the cache system as a local hub, and have more access to things like warming the cache if you want to, which is really important. And then we've also made it easy to deploy it in the clouds. So we've made it BYOL, what we call, so you can take your Nucleus Enterprise license and you can install that easily on AWS and Azure, and made it really easy to set those up. And even Google just did one as well. So so now you can just set up your own Nucleus wherever you want it, and you can connect to it through the cloud, which is great. And even Omniverse Cloud will work with those. So it's about you having access to controlling your own data, where you want it and how you want to manage it. So it's a great capability that we're allowing with Nucleus. All right, next. With deep search, deep search was an amazing capability where you were able to search through AI through all the content that you do have in Nucleus. But now we've added a new UI, so you can really explore the latent space of that search. So when you start searching for something, it will show you the categorizations of things like, oh, find me a blue car. It'll show you all the well, which one do you mean? Do you mean it will create a space, a 3D space you can navigate throughout these different choices in the latent space. So it's a really interesting new approach to how you can search for content inside of Nucleus, again using AI. With connectors, of course, the ecosystem is building a ton of great connectors, and these are the connectors that we've just continued to double down on ourselves to make sure we have really good support. So Alias, Creo, JT, Onshape, as well as a DGN8 converter. So we created a whole CAD converter connector. So we're doing a lot of stuff for the manufacturing. And then with AEC, same thing. We're constantly updating Revit, SketchUp, Rhino, ArcCAD, ParaView for our ACO connectors. And we've got Creator. So of course, Blender, we're really working hard with Blender to make sure we have a fantastic connection there. Of course, with Max and Maya, Substance has really come along. It's really really awesome. But again, we're doing so. In Maya, we have now a new native thing. This was actually a really great thing that happened here with Maya. So Maya, initially we created our own own connector, but then as Maya added USD more natively, now we're using the Maya native USD libraries and connections in there, and then we're just adding only the things we need on top. Like if we want a special conversion to MDL or some new animation capabilities, we add that on top of Maya native USD. So you get the benefits of all the great things Autodesk is doing with USD, plus the things that Omniverse can add on top. And this is kind of where we want to see all of a lot of the connectors go, is that all the companies start supporting USD more and more, and then we'll just only add what we need to on top. And at some point, we don't need to add anything on top. So we're really happy to see all these great connectors coming out from the ecosystem. And of course, for real-time engines, now we've added Unity. So we're really excited about that. We've had a really great Unreal connector. In fact, it's one of our best connectors is Unreal. And now we've added Unity to the mix there as well. And the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about that. So we've added Unity to, again, have everything from doing getting the content back and forth, live connections. So we see a lot of robotics customers using Unity still, and it's a fantastic way to go back and forth between Unity because it has a really great scripting environment for those use cases, and be able to live connect between the two gives you the best of both worlds. And I think I end on SimReady. So this one's exciting, and it's actually been a pain point through my whole life too, working with 3D content. It's always been really hard to find content that was consistent, had the right scale, had the right texture layout, and physics properties. It just didn't really exist out there because there was never really a spec to define what an asset ready for physical use from both physics and materials and scale. So USD really helped us do that by having USD and having this common data structure. Allowed us to say, well, you know what, now we can start creating a specification that anyone can use that can define what a SimReady asset is. So we've been building a spec, it's going to be open to everyone, and it defines not only the geometric spec, like how to use USD and how to apply materials, but also things like the physics properties on that object. And we've been working with Pixar and Apple, even on that on the physics spec, to make sure we had a consistent specification for physics that was aligned, allowing you to use any solver. It doesn't have to be a physics solver, it can be any solver. But having those core properties on the and specification for these assets now gives us the capability that if someone wants to assemble a digital twin, they can get access to a library of these assets. So what we've done is, next slide, is we're opening up the spec for everyone to be able to use, but also providing a library, kind of a kickstart to the community to have thousands of assets that are already sim ready for things like forklifts and containers and boxes and trash cans and all kinds of things that you can just easily write with Omniverse. You just get them for free, you can use them, and you can drag them into the world. So we've created a new SimReady Explorer browser that allows you to see the properties of the object, change any variants on them, drag them into the scene. It will set up the proper, do I want physics on or off on the asset sort of thing, and manage it. And then again, this now will serve as a starting point for the ecosystem. It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone out there who wants to create 3D assets, is to create SimReady assets, because all these customers that are using Omniverse, they really need content. They don't want to build content teams. They want to create digital twins, right? So this is where you can really help the ecosystem, is through this. And again, we're going to get that spec out there as soon as possible, so you can see what we've done, but you can also start using our sample library here to see how we've built them. But you can see here, these are what some of the assets look like. They're great, physically accurate. Materials are phenomenal, so you should definitely check them out and use them as a starting point. But I'm going to cut it short here, and there's just so much great stuff. But I'm looking forward to see you in Discord and ask questions away, and really loving what everyone's doing. Definitely go check out in the extension manager, the community tab in there. I am so excited about that tab and starting to see what the developers and community starting to do in there. I look at it every day. Very, very, very excited to see that. Keep it coming.
That was awesome, Frank. You gave Damien a run for his money. In the chat, a lot of excited people. Let's see if Damien can hold a match. But I think, are we playing the technology?
Oh
Sizzle?
yes, next one. So next one is the tech reel. It's just great work that's come out of Omniverse from you guys.
Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful. And
Wow.
what a great introduction to the next gentleman taking the microphone. None other than Damien.
Well, thank you.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm getting control of the keyboard now. We'll see if I can do the 70 slide in less time than Frank. Anyway, first I want to say thank you to everybody. Always really a great pleasure to be part of the show, and everybody is like super excited on the chat. Papa Chuck was kind of rightly so saying that we haven't done live session with Matty coding, and so we're going to remedy that absolutely. Matty and I were talking on the side. So if you're on the chat while I'm showing you some of these new features, tell us about apps you're kind of thinking we should live code with Matty. Give us some ideas. And then we'll prepare some really great sessions, kind of a pre-show of some of the Kit 105 live. I'm going to show you some stuff on Kit 105, but you get to see it live. Matty and I will answer questions and do some live coding, kind of do a finger typing while we can still do it before the AI does it for us. We'll enjoy that moment. So I'm going to be a rapid sprint through a lot of the things that I want you to capture. If you need to a slower pace version, or you want to kind of go back into some of the features that I'm not going to address directly, you have that sessions. We did a great sessions on GTC, and then there's a breakout. I'm sure there will be some plugs there, but there's a great breakout session tomorrow. So plenty of other times where you can see some of the features. So let's see if I can control my slide. Okay, so these are our sprints. The platform, what's new in 105, and then what's next for developer. Generally on the platform, so I've cut it down a little bit. It's extremely modular, right? That was one of the really kind of temple that Revs sort of tried to inject into my brains when I started. We wanted to build this platform for you that had all of these pieces, and then you can use them to compose these apps. So we go from the bottom where we have this kernel, a lot of extensions, framework, API that we're building, so you don't have to build them and you can get to the complex problem. And at the very top, that's where you interface. You just create your innovations, you use these foundation apps, and then you integrate your own Lego blocks and you push them in. The application stack, and I've seen some in a couple of places, but it's really rich. You can compose from many different places. At the bottom, we share with you a lot of technology, and then you simply, at the top of that stack, build that kit file. We'll see how it is. Very simple. It's really just a manifest of your idea. You know, write it down in text, the things that you want to assemble in that files. And of course, you write some custom extension if you want. Really, some people don't even have to. You've seen some of the great things Frank said. You could even just, you know, build your scene, and that's your extensions. And then you just have those kit files. So we'll go into these details. We talk about these foundation apps, where we've really wanted everybody to crystallize that we're building these apps for you, so you can use them as a developer, as an enterprise, as a company, as a workflow, to extend them and build your own. And so we call them these foundation apps. The Omniverse USD Composer, it's foundations around building world. All of these extensions that are there is about how you build world building applications using that recipe. And we'll see a little bit more in details how you do it in a few seconds. And then there's another starting point, which is the USD presenter. And so maybe your app is more about visualizations, small review and approval, interactions with multiple users. This is a great starting point. So, you know, we kind of set that up, and you see we use them in some of our workflow to validate that all of the performance and the UX is there. Of course, you have code. There's actually a couple of other apps that you can see in the reference foundation apps that you can see in the longer video, but code is the place where we encapsulate the workflow for you as a developer to get started, get access to the sample, get access to the way to build these extensions and these apps very rapidly. That's an app for you that you can use. So really, this next couple of months, we want to work with you so you can see that building extension is cool. Building apps is even cooler. And so let's see how you do that. It's actually not that difficult. We know we build many internally, and some of you in Bentley system and many others actually have built some really great apps. It really starts from a configuration file, this kit file. If you open one up, you'll see they're very simple. It just says what you want to do. And then you find a foundation apps, you find an example, you find something that's just a starting point for you to create your work. And then you start thinking of, you know, what extensions you want to do. You write some code, you package it all up. We have great build tools. You just, you know, build it, automatically assemble itself, and then you're going to publish your work, your extensions, and we'll see how that works easily. And then we're making many ways to share them easily with, you know, your team, your company, or your user in the wild. You know, this is an example of those kit files. They're in that TOML language. They're very easy to write. We're gonna, you know, continuously document them. They're really your place to kind of do these configurations. There's only really two things to notice: is dependency. What other great work do you want to use, and the one that you're contributing, and some settings. You know, you personalize these extensions and these workflow to your needs, to your experience, to what you want to build for your creator. And then you just write it up, and then off you go. It is really easy, and we'll do it live with Maddie, so you can see that it's true. The leveraging the foundation app is really important, you know. And then also we have a kit app template. It's here on GitHub. It's actually been there since 104, and many people have interacted and cloned it and done some great stuff with it. You know, NVIDIA Omniverse on GitHub, kit app template. We're going to refresh it for 105. With the latest and greatest templates and things on a presenter and composer, USD presenter and USD composer. So you have this really rich starting point, so we can see a lot of really great work spinning off of those base applications. So, you know, Frank showed what's new in Kit 105, in Kit 106. So he's still some of the standard, but you know, he went broad and talked a lot about many of the technology outside of the baseline. effectively great extension built by NVIDIA engineers, but with the public SDK. Really, I want to always emphasize that the great extension that you're seeing in OmniGraph, in animations, in scattering, this beautiful sim-ready Explorer, entirely built with public API and often almost entirely in Python, means everything you can also do, right? They're just doing it there, but you guys have the same access, and that's really important for us.
And even the source of those extensions are available, right? So like,
absolutely,
if you like the SimReady Explorer, you think it's cool, all the source of that Explorer is there, pull it apart, rebuild it, do what you want with it.
Absolutely. And part of the extremely modular mandate that we had very early on was also this very rich openness and using Python as a language to enable us to effectively share the source code with you so you can use it as an inspiration and start from there. It's very critically important, Frank. That's you're absolutely right. Same disclaimer, what I'm showing you is shipping soon, but not completely yet. So don't make a purchase decision. And so the kernel was always there in Kit at the lowest level, that's Kit executable that bootstrap your applications. Over the last year, we've continued to streamline it so it becomes its own individual package. You can download the kernel. It's 100 megs. It's very small. It's mostly with Python interpreter in there. And then from there, you can bootstrap this entire applications, downloading the extension that you need in a very modular way, making from the very small apps to the very big one in a very powerful way. We have this great registry of extensions. We have internally a registry with thousands of extensions built by a large community of NVIDIA engineers. We'd start showing how you can build them. You can build them in enterprise. We have great partners that have hundreds of extensions on their own internal registry. We're going to make public registry of our extensions available to you for Kit 105, so you can download all of these extensions individually in easy form, and then we'll get regular updates on these ones. So that's going to be a really great feature. One of the things to make app is you need to do like a main, right? You need to have your entry point to assemble everything. And then everybody kind of sometimes struggle to do ones, they do copy and paste from the one that we provided. That was really a good way, but for 105, we're streamlining that. You're gonna have a really great base class. It's effectively as easy as enabling that extension and then setting some settings to do the baseline experience. Again, live demo of that with Matty in a couple of weeks. Join us, you'll really have fun. The starting experience is really important. You want your user to be oriented and guided to what matters to you in a very rapid way. And so for that, in 105, we're introducing the welcome window experience. It is, of course, as always, a framework. And all of these pages, they're actually individual extension that you can enable, disable, you can write your own. We expect that people will make cool custom welcome page extension that people can add to their app. And it's a really great way to get your user started quickly and then oriented into your app by giving them good guidelines into what they need to do. And then inside Kit itself, at the lower level, there will be a foundation mini editor app that we use internally for our developer to get oriented. It's going to start really, really fast with the help of the welcome app and oriented. It's less than 5 seconds on most systems. You're going to get oriented very quickly, and then you'll be able to see how to build this very basic editor. And then from there, you can start by building really great experience. We're upgrading the core of Kit to USD 22.11. That's a very recent reason. It's really just the one before last. And that really, bring all of the latest innovation in USD that NVIDIA is contributing, working with Pixar contributing, another great partner into Kit as the core runtime. It also enabled you to have access to USD Resolver, to the AR Resolver 2.0. That means that now you can sideload multiple AR Resolver, including the Omniverse one, but yours. And then we have great workflow for you to upgrade to that. It's a pretty seamless transition, but again, it's really great to be aligned to that almost latest version. Python 3.10. I see some people being excited on the chat, so that's really great. It was a good effort to upgrade to a very recent of Python. There was really important things there. First, we wanted to be on a really recent, very secure and good version of Python for you and your project. And there's also a great performance improvement that Python is adding version to version. So We're now on 3.10. It's 3.10.10 if you like details. And we are going to, we've upgraded the pipeline, so we will be able to more regularly upgrade Python. So expect that we will stay close to the latest more regularly in the future. But again, great extensions. Not very much work for you to do to upgrade. You'll see it's pretty rapid and simple. I've got more details about effectively the improved speed on Omni UI for Kit 105. One that I wanted to highlight here is, Frank talked about this amazing graph. We have, amazing action graph, Omni graph, material editor, anim graph. There is so many graph inside the platform. They're all using this Omni UI graph framework that you can use to build your own graph interface. As people build big ones with loads of attributes and loads of really cool templates, these delegates, they started to be a little slower than we wanted in a real-time fashion. So we've upgraded that, and now you've got these really super smooth 60 hertz, 120 hertz, super fast spanning graphs. So you'll really enjoy that. They're really, and you don't have to change anything. We changed all of the underlying technology, so you didn't have to touch any of your code. We've also introduced OpenGL widget. Omniverse Kit is built on a sort of an abstraction layer for rendering, but we use DirectX on Windows, and we use Vulkan on Windows and Linux in order to build these applications. And many of you have asked to have access to OpenGL, either because they knew OpenGL and they could write some cool stuff in OpenGL. That include doing PyOpenGL, so you can write really cool OpenGL widget now directly in Kit, but also in C++, and you get access to really advanced graphics in OpenGL to bring your library. So those are coming into 105. They're really great. I hope that will enable more of you to build new things. Frank talked a little bit about the collaborative improvements overall in the platform. For you as a developer, I really want you to crystallize that this is based on Omni Live, and then the very fast and real-time interaction on edits that you're making on these live layers. A very interesting way to build collaboration. And it is not only for USD, right? Really, you could use the USD backend to collaborate in between applications that are doing other things, but you have these live collaborations in between people, saving to nucleus. So really great advancement going there. A lot of work. Again, a lot of these extensions written in Python. They use the Scene UI, they use the OmniLive layers API, so you can replicate a lot of these workflow in your tool. It was mentioned a few times, but I always want to remind you, and hopefully I'm here for you as a developer. Omniverse Kit and Omniverse in general, but Kit is really a tool for you as a developer to create your ideas and bring them into the platform. So we are really always really interested to kind of hear from you. There is plenty of great developer documentations. Many of them have been refreshed recently by the team. They are doing really great work. This new Omniverse Get Started that gives you a lot of access, so you can get your journey of your first few days into the platform, learning quickly, and then eating these interesting problems in no time. Developer guides, and of course the Omniverse documentation overall that talks about the breadth of the platform, all of these different products and API that you can use to create your own ecosystem or your own applications. A great idea. GitHub, there's plenty of sample there. The teams constantly add some more. I just listed some of the ones that we had shipped a few months ago. XXX, there is plenty more. Matty's teams are contributing some. Other people will contribute on their fork of these repositories. So please have a check. We've seen people doing really great things in the C++ extensions already. If you're there for ultimate performance, access to physics, or OmniGraph in C++, these repos got you covered. There's plenty of examples, more comings. We take requests when you guys have new ideas. You let us know, and then some people are kind of building those for you. A lot of great way to now interact with Omniverse extension in C++. It was mentioned by Frank, the community extensions registry, and that's going to be adding to the one that we're publishing ourselves, is vibrant. People, look at each other works, and then, you see loads of people with loads of stars. Please continue to look there. and then publish your work in that community. So you get exposure, so we can see you, help you, reach out to us when you want to go into that platform. Remember, this means your code, your extensions get available into all of these users of Composer that can just enable your work, all these developers, because you've made an API or a toolkit that some other can use. So again, just reach out to us on the forums. Live stream with Maddie. I see him smiling. I can't wait to come and join him into that. And I hope Papa Chuck will be there. Papa Chuck, you've got to show up because you told us to do it. Now we want to see you there, and we'll be super happy to see as many of you. Remember, tomorrow there is a developer breakout, and we expect that we are going to have record attendance. So please be there with us. And yeah, I'll leave it to Matty.
Thank you,
That's
Damien.
amazing.
Jam-packed. That was I don't know, man. I call that a tie. It's USD and Python.
Good stuff. I do want to bring up, there was one question that went out to all the execs. If you could do one sentence to the question, why Omniverse? I don't know, who do we want to start with?
I can start with, why Omniverse?
Okay.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I can start for sure. Like, it's, I think Richard said it well too in the beginning. It's a network of networks, and where we see is a lot of these customers, they have all these great tools, but nothing has ever been out there that really connects everyone to each other, right? And by doing that, it actually solves real problems, real decision-making problems. Being able to, like I said, we're looking at BMW as a good example, is that they're pulling in data from Revit, they're pulling in data from engineering and robotics, and pulling it all together, and then they're actually making decisions that will completely transform the way they're doing business, right? And if you think about something like a BMW, a line down for an hour is millions of dollars, right? So this early decision making is really important. So Omniverse is and the same reason why we built it was to connect everyone together, and to be able to make decisions and train AI in these worlds that just weren't possible before.
I will just say in one sentence, Omniverse brings the power to everyone. Really
Perfect.
about democratizing and getting everybody connected, but that's the one sentence. I see Rev is thinking.
All right.
He's thinking. He's got this going on. He's like, okay, here it comes.
I'd just like to add to Frank's. So Frank, what he pointed out here about the connections, that's fundamental for Omniverse. The way I look at Omniverse, there's two parts to it, two major parts. The first part is building the virtual worlds from all of those parts that come from different places, all the different data sources. So we put a lot of time and energy and love into building the standards to describe all the different parts of the world, working with the USD community, and just went in and started creating all these connectors and stuff ourselves from the start, because nobody else was quite doing that. And so that's a huge part of that, and that in itself is already extremely valuable. But for us, that's only one part of it. The reason we want to aggregate all these worlds together is so that we can simulate them. So we can do simulations that match the real world. So we can do them really, really fast as it happens in the real world, and actually even faster than that. We want to be super real time so that we can explore many possible futures. We want to build factories, we want to build cities, we want to build products like cars, and we want to test them out in many different configurations, many different possible ways. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by building a full stack that allows us to simulate this. It's not enough to just have software. It's not enough to have hardware. It's not enough to be able to have software that runs on one computer. We need a system that lets us scale, because once you can aggregate worlds this large and this accurate, the workload is so big, it won't fit on one GPU. It won't fit on one node with many GPUs. It needs to scale to many, many computers that in aggregate act like one computer. And as far as I know, Omniverse as a simulation engine and a simulation stack is the only one that anyone's ever tried to develop that scales in this way, where you can choose an arbitrarily complex, large world at the physical accuracy you need, and then go size a computer to go fit that so you can run it in real time or super real time.
Awesome. And Damien, how would you answer that question?
Because you could build amazing tools, of course, and then solve, big problem that, you didn't think were possible to solve before. And so I think that's, is really important for us on the developer side. So, but Rev says, it's also about all of these really important things.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to throw one in too about this is a great time for artists and developers to come together and make stuff like complete end-to-end workflows with all the disciplines. It's just seeing
it's fun.
The collaboration together is just inspiring.
It's fun to do work. All right.
Speaking of inspiring, I think we're going to talk about our community. What you just saw was a collection of videos from most of our Omniverse ambassadors in the community. The community has grown a lot since we started Omniverse, especially in the last year. I think we're up to almost 7,000 members on our Discord server. We have not only one weekly stream, we have several now with many great members, some of which are in the chat right now, like Ashley and Eric and Dave and Maddie, of course. But what inspires all of us to do our work are the people in the community, and our ambassadors are a great example of people who just have become experts in one or more areas of Omniverse and basically tell their stories and share that knowledge with others. Very, very happy to welcome Michael Wagner and Rafi Nizam to that group. Everyone's going to be familiar with both these people if you've been following Omniverse for a little while, because Michael is part of Epolog. He started it and just recently announced ThinkTwin that we talked about today at GTC. He's with us in the chat, so congratulations to both of you. I think Vince got to sit down most recently with Michael Wagner. Let's watch that.
We have Michael Wagner here with us. You've been around on Omniverse for a while. It's been amazing to see all of the work you've done. You've done amazing posts on Medium. You've done so much great stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with Omniverse.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me. I'm Mike Wagner, CTO of SyncTwin and also Epolog, you might know it, my other company. And actually, I've been doing virtual and augmented reality like for over 20 years now. Since that time, I always had this vision of like a collaborative virtual environment and now, yeah, all the time I've been waiting for Omniverse, basically.
Can you tell us a little bit about those things you've developed on Omniverse and kind of for who and what they do?
The best part of Omniverse is USD, the Universal Scene Description. That's the core format, and it has some unique properties like the layering, which enables basically the collaboration and bringing together everything in an open format. And you not only can you like add graphical elements, but also meta information and physical information, so that you have really a holistic digital twin. And that's something we need to build for the digital factory domain. And what you see here is what we contribute to the complete digital factory twin in Omniverse with Epolog, my other company. We create like these elements, these racks and boxes, and for this the planner planning these assembly lines and the production logistics. That's what we do with Epolog. And SyncTwin, we've created like a spin-off which creates just Omniverse stuff and extensions, and we also have the SyncTwin app now. But here are some examples we did as extensions during our development. Here you see, for example, the some part dropper extension, and these extensions are all public, so you can get them from the extensions tab.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm so happy to greet you as one of our new Omniverse community ambassadors. Very well deserved. You've been so helpful to the community, sharing these extensions, working with some of our largest customers to bring them up to speed and develop all of these great components. It's an honor to have you among our ambassadors, and I can't thank you enough for all of the effort and work and support that you've given our customers and us on this Omniverse platform. So congratulations.
For me, thank you, and for me it's an honor, and happy to contribute. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being such an amazing part of our community. It's great to have you on our ambassador team, and we look forward to working alongside and seeing all these new extensions you're working on.
Thanks a lot, and thank you all for your community work. That's just awesome. How you put everything together, and with the tutorials and Maddie and Edmar and you guys. So it's just a great community as well. So thank you.
Love Michael.
Yes, and now we have our second new addition to the Omniverse ambassadors, Rafi Nizam. We'll talk a little bit after this clip.
I've sort of been working in the media and entertainment industry for about 25 years now. For the first 10 years, I worked in advertising as a creative. I also worked at Sony Pictures from a sort of a visual sort of design and art direction point of view. About 3 years ago, when I left Universal, I sort of set up on my own to explore what I could do as an indie creator with all that knowledge from the industry. And I started experimenting with Omniverse, initially just exploring what's possible in the real-time space and the real-time ray tracing, because I was just curious about the tools. What really got me excited was the USD infrastructure and how well it connected a lot of the other applications that I knew I had to use to make the animated show I had in my head. That's when I realized that I should really try and realize my show, Art Squad, which is an animated show aimed at children, where the characters in the show combine their love for art history, art technique, and art therapy together as a squad to solve problems in their world. And it's aimed at sort of children aged 6 to 8. So it melds education and entertainment and sort of fantasy worlds all the way together. And It's all being built with the Omniverse infrastructure.
You also got another project in AR, right? You working on?
There's a project called Droplands, very early stages. It's an augmented reality game that involves collecting, creating, and then sort of friendly competition in the stuff that you create. So in this game, you can go out into the real world through your phone and find seeds and characters in the real world that you bring into your sort of plot of land. You plant the seeds and you essentially grow to in whatever way you want a bunch of fantastical plants and like a garden of your own. The more you build, the more it attracts creatures to your garden and other players. Within these gardens that you build, every plant has a game associated, like a mini game or a challenge associated with it. Again, the more you build, the more complex and more elaborate your world is, your drop land is, and it attracts people to play, and so you can set up challenges, and it's a fun way to collect and create your sort of like an augmented reality fantastical layer on the real world.
What websites you recommend for people if they want to catch up on your work?
Check out droplands.com. That's where you could find that. And to follow me and Art Squad, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's /Raffi Animates. In fact, most social channels have my tag. I'm Raffi Animates on most social channels, so Twitter and LinkedIn and all that.
I want to thank you for just sharing all that information with the public. That is why we're super excited to announce that you are one of our next Omniverse ambassadors from the community. Anyone watching, definitely check out Raffi Animate's channel. It's fantastic. Congratulations on being our next ambassador from the community, Raffi. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us at the user group today.
Oh, it's a pleasure's all mine. Thanks so much, Edmar.
What a nice guy.
I can't wait to see his show.
Yeah, and I was watching the chat, and everybody's right. What's crazy about Raffi is that he does not consider himself technical at all. And if you watch the live stream we had with him, he went through his whole workflow and how many apps he's using as a result of the Omniverse Foundation. He's connecting all these different apps that each have a very specific purpose. And he uses XR to actually stage his scene. And even for some quick modeling stuff. So a lot of those characters you see are just generated very easily from him using those different apps and Omniverse. So that's a really great live stream. You should watch the whole thing. Really fascinating. But Wendy, what are we looking at? The Insider
Community
program.
Insider.
What's all this about?
Yeah. Become a community insider. Guys, we have some really fun stuff planned for our future insiders. All you got to do is go to nvidia.com/omniverse/community. We'll be adding fun new things exclusively for our insiders. In fact, we recently invited our insiders that were experts with Unity to help us beta test the new Unity connector. So if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, sign up today. Let us know what applications, what skills you're proficient in. Let us know if you want to opt in for contract work from our Omniverse partners. We are also starting up focus groups. So join today and let us know what your interests are so that we can invite you to all the fun.
That's perfectly said. It does take a few minutes because we want to find out all the different apps you do, but once you're in there, you can always update it later. You don't have to do everything at once. So I would definitely get on there. It was really helpful for us to kind of have more visibility on the different apps people are using and their expertise. And plus those focus groups, great chance to give some input on what we're doing next. Cool. Okay, so that's the Insider program. What's the next slide here? Here we go. CJ Hero is actually a company that we've been really chatting with a lot lately that was formed by ex-folks from TurboSquid, who most people in the community will be familiar with. CJ Hero allows basically companies, including Disney and Ubisoft and many others, to get in touch with experts. So they've recently added a nice tag for skills that would indicate that you're good at USD or familiar with USD, Omniverse, and any one of the different tools we've got. So people who are different companies who are looking for experts in Omniverse can go to CJ Hero now. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. One cool thing to note is that there's no charge for any of the artists or developers that are on here. The companies that are looking for the talent are the ones that have to pay the fee. So CJ Hero looks like a great spot, and we're going to be probably talking with those folks mostly on an upcoming live stream as well.
And developers should check it out too. They've got coding languages in there as well. So I would sign up as well for if you've got if you're a developer.
Yeah, and I think Vincent had mentioned generative AI is one of the skills there. So so really cool. I think it's we had a couple sessions today on sim-ready assets. We talked about that a little earlier too. So that's a great area too. If you want to go in here and do a side hustle, that's a great way to make yourself known to the world. Here we go. Who wants to tackle this one? Well, we actually, Maddie, you want to talk about the one that's right square in the middle there at the top, because that just came out today.
Yes, very exciting. Damien mentioned a little bit. We have a new developer guide. If you are just starting out with Omniverse and you want to learn about developing for Omniverse, I would start at the developer guide. It breaks down all the different things you could build with Omniverse. And you can learn about each one of them and then follow that path to whatever interests you most. And then start with one and then try all of them. So check that out for sure. That's the developer guide.
Yeah, we've seen, so in the chat tonight and in GTC sessions, we've seen a lot of questions from people who are just getting started about where do I go? How do I get started? So a lot of the resources on this page are a great place to go. One of the, I think, for some reason, it's kind of hidden from people, but it's really not. It's right out in the open. But in the Omniverse launcher itself, there's a Learn tab that has direct access to tutorials broken down by topic or by app. So if you want to look at Blender stuff, you can just go to the Blender area. You should check that pretty regularly because there are videos getting added nearly every week, and if not more frequently. The other one that's worth mentioning here is Roberto Sheraton, who is from a graduate of UAD. If people may recall, we had him on a live stream. A great program in Mexico where they use Omniverse to build connectors to their custom game engines. He graduated from there. Has been working with Omniverse ever since. He graduated last year and is now just recently launched a Udemy course on Omniverse. We put the link in the chat a little earlier. He's with us tonight. So, hey, Roberto. And then finally, we have Christopher Scott, another Omniverse ambassador. He's scheduling live training. I believe it's one-on-one using what's called Studio. ume.studio. You can check out their website, but I believe that they're starting in April. So that's ume.studio. And it's going to show off how collaborative workflow works with Omniverse and utilizing cloud workstations. So you don't even have to have hardware on site to be able to do that. So a lot of people were talking about they wish they were able to get into a DLI session, but they were booked. So ume.studio would be a great place if you want to have some one-on-one training from one of our ambassadors. And he is a great expert. He's been working with the Omniverse for a long time. I think Rev knows him very well. He's been he's part of the original company of Outdoor Living. Really, he knows Omniverse, better than a lot of us actually, because he's been with it all through beta. So thanks, Chris, for getting that going. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we've been growing a lot this past year. One of the most exciting things is the community page, because we had a hard time figuring out where to put everything and try to link everything in one spot. So we finally got to make a community page that Wendy mentioned earlier. The queen of the stream, Wendy, is a big part of our weekly live streams on Wednesday. But that's not the only stream we have going on now. I mentioned a little earlier, we have streams by Ashley, who is teaching people how to code. You're learning with her at the same time. As Maddie said in the chat, she did not know Python before she started doing the stream, and she's making really cool stuff. And she's
so funny. It's
great.
Just fun to watch her.
It's fun. She's got a really big fan base now, approaching Damien's. Of course, Maddie's live streams have also been referenced by a lot of people in the community as what has been instrumental to them to really learn how to code and work with Omniverse. Eric has another live stream that's really focused on CAD and engineering in Omniverse. He's also been doing some amazing work there. Jen is up and on his stream. I try to pop in once in a while. And then we have Dave Tyner, who is known as the Omnivore on our Discord server. He has been showing off stuff really more focused on live sync. So on his sessions, if a lot of people are curious, the other big advantage of Omniverse regarding collaboration is not just a collaboration of apps, it's a collaboration of users, which Frank mentioned earlier, that is made possible. And it's kind of hard to explain until you see it, but it's pretty amazing and transformative. So Dave has been doing streams with Alberto from Spain, with Marco from Australia, basically making these really cool cinematic scenes together, each doing a different part in the scene and talking through it. So those are just some of the great live streams that are currently on our YouTube channel. If you go to live, you'll be able to see all the old ones. All of our channel streams also go to NVIDIA On Demand. I mentioned Discord, discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse. It's really easy to remember. We're approaching 7,000 members now. We just added a new channel today called SimReady because we saw a lot of interest in those GTC sessions. So if you want to learn more about that, we have a channel called GTC. If you have any questions on GTC this week or after, feel free to post in that channel. But then there are channels based off, for developers or for different apps. We're about, as soon as this is over tonight, I am going to create another channel called Unity. Guess what that means? We have a Unity connector. Thanks to Kevin and his team, we've got a great Unity connector that has been tested through help from some of our insiders that Wendy mentioned earlier. So we're going to have a new channel on Discord just for that. Really, really exciting to be able to leverage Unity and Omniverse and USD. Obviously, Wendy also manages the forums. So the way we kind of describe the forums is go to the forums if you have a bug or you have a problem, especially if it's critical support you need. That is hooked directly to our dev team. Wendy is intimately involved with how all that system works together. So please utilize the forums for that. If you want to chat with the community more, sometimes the community is super helpful to help you figure out stuff too. That's what the Discord is more for. We definitely have developers that hang out on Discord also, but I would not depend on that for critical support. You want to go to the forum so we can track it. And then obviously we talked about documentation earlier in our tutorials. So lots of great resources for everybody and only getting better and better every day from our team putting this stuff together. So big thanks to the community for helping us kind of find out what we need to do more of. And that's exactly what we're doing. So thanks everybody for that. That's that link for Discord. You might want to get a tattoo, some of you. I know I have one. Okay, so I think what we wanted to just close out the night by advertising a hangout we're doing afterwards on Discord. So we're opening up a stage, invite everyone to come. It holds 300 people, so it should be plenty of room, but we'll see. And you can raise your hand to talk. I also want to say these events and not only these events, but just all the work you saw that was unveiled today by Rev and Richard and Damien and Paul. There is so many engineers and teams that go behind into this work, and putting together stuff is it's hard to imagine a more hardworking company than NVIDIA. Just unbelievable the amount of work that happens here every day. So big thank you to everyone who's really worked so hard every day to make this possible. And you are definitely, all the users out there, are really what inspires and motivates us. And also the people on our team who really help put together events like this. Micah is helping right now with the slides and the presentation. Tracy, Amelia, on the community team. We would not be able to do nearly as much as we could without your help. Greer on the marketing side helps make sure there's visibility on the stuff, so the creative developers kind of know what's available and when. Tim, obviously Lila, Heather, Madison. There's just so many more people also that is a big part of what makes all this stuff kind of work. We would love to hear your feedback, how these user groups can be even more helpful to you. And you can do that in our GTC channel on Discord, or just always free to message me on Discord, or you can send me an email, edmar@nvidia.com. What did I leave out before we go? Any parting words?
About how great Edmar is. Can you just say a word or two about how great Edmar is?
Edmar, I could not do what I do without you, Edmar. Truly, honestly.
Very sweet. Very sweet.
Very awesome. I think the big shout out is to our community. This is what inspires us all to do what we do. And I just thank you all for being here. Again, a shout out to our partners in China, all the people that joined us today from all around the world. You inspire us. That's really what it's all about.
It's true. Wendy and I say this a lot during the live streams, but whenever we see work that's posted on social media or on the Omniverse gallery page or on the Discord showcase page, we absolutely love it. We share it internally. I promise you, Jensen sees a lot of the stuff that gets shared. Rev is probably the quickest about sharing anything. He always beats us sometimes by minutes. I don't think he sleeps.
But he does shed Rev tears. So we have to.
Yes.
Perpetually.
So we're going to head over to Discord. We're going to close out this show by something we put together really quickly, but I hope it's fun for everybody to watch. These are some of my favorite moments from our most recent live streams. So we'll watch this for a few minutes. Then when it's over, everyone can head to Discord and we'll continue the party. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the GTC.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
We are live, and hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream.
And look who is here. Omnivore himself, Mr. Tyner.
The original Omnivore.
What's awesome about working with USD, and I love so much, is that these files kind of stack together like Russian dolls. So put it inside the other, you put it inside the other.
I can use it to take my ideas from drawings to fully rendered scenes, and it was quite astonishing, really.
I didn't have to wait 3.5 hours for it, and I can see everything all at once. I can see the beautiful reflection of the balloon. I can see caustic shadows of the gummies.
So then you double click here and you can type out, this is my description.
I totally missed the notes feature.
Going back to, you don't need to have programming knowledge. It's all node based, similar to how blueprints work or geometry nodes in Blender.
That's how I learned about Omniverse. Is your announcement came up, and when it revealed to the world, and we were very excited to be able to cover it. And once I got an RTX card, I was very happy to be able to use it.
So we can collaborate here. Damien is somewhere else far away from me, and I am in a lonely room in St. Louis, and we can sit here and we can work together.
So I want to show you a quick tutorial on doing this. If you're familiar with Blender, Omniverse, if you're familiar with any program, like 3D program, you're going to really pick up on this really fast.
You don't need to be good at math. One is a lot greater than the other. And so it's a really great technology tool.
Today, what I'm going to do is try and share my experiences over the past few months. And as we've seen, the cast of characters I have here are fairly diverse, different, not only different proportions, but even their eye shapes are different from character to character.
This entire environment is built out of these sort of little disc-shaped sort of pancake modules.
You can go through and play with the different flow settings, flow simulate, advection. There's a lot of stuff happening here under advection that you want to play with.
At this point, it's pretty effortless, and we're just in presentation mode. We're loading all of this content very quickly.
It's inspiring because you're just like, oh man, they're doing so much. There's so much new stuff coming out. Like, I got to learn it. I got to use it. It's not something that's going to just be gone tomorrow. There's this like long-term stability. Like, this much has been put into it. It's going to be around for a long time.
I know one of our fans, I think it was on Twitch, said hashtag Omniverse gang. We're all here today.
You're definitely building a fan base here on the chat. Everyone's really impressed by what they're seeing.
Magic. And that's pretty much it.
See you at the user group. Bye.